Welcome back to Southpaw Picks, and you're here with your host Charles, and this is UFC Fight Night, Lemos versus Andrade, and we got a very underwhelming card as far as the UFC goes. But this weekend we got tons of MMA bouts, LFA, two back-to-back Bellators, the boxing heavyweight championship on the line. It's a pretty action-packed weekend, so this UFC card here, as underwhelming as it is, we lost some great fights. There's still some spots this weekend that I absolutely love, and there's some spots in this card that I love as well. So we're coming off a week, last week, where we will go 9-5 in predictions, and we profit 2 units. Now, that brings our total up to 23 units this year. We are rolling, and we're going to continue this trek along. I'm hoping by midsummer we could at least get to 50, maybe even past that. We are not going south at any point in time this year going forward. But anyways, let's get into it. It's a very short card, 12 fights, and I'm not going to let you guys wait any longer for kicking it off with the main event. We got Amanda Lemos versus Jéssica Andrade, and two very very high level female fighters here, both Brazilian. Lemos 5-fight win streak coming in here. Jéssica Andrade 1-2 out of her last 5, but obviously she's going up against tough opponents: Weili Zhang, Rose Namajunas, and Valentina Shevchenko, right? But in that time, she's picking up wins against Qileng and Cynthia Calvillo, both stoppage wins. I think this is a terrific fight. I like the aggressive nature of Jéssica Andrade. She's a brute. She's very physically strong. As you know, with me, I'm very good when it comes to women MMA picks. If you just look at the record, just take a look at it. I'm pretty good at calling these female fights. I gotta say this. I feel like at first I was really leaning Jéssica, as far as thinking that she'll be able to maybe take Lemos down, or take Lemos down, hold her down. You always have that image in your head of seeing Jéssica pick up Rose and slam her down, right? Or that time when she picked up Qileng and threw her down as well. But I don't think this is gonna happen here, and I do believe that Jéssica Andrade at flyweight and strawweight are two different versions of what she could be. I do believe with the strawweight, with that 10-pound extra that she's cutting, I do believe it takes a bit off her chin. I do believe it takes a bit out of her gas tank and her durability. And she's also coming off of these situations where these fights haven't even been extended 25 minutes, right? First round, I think it was a third round finish for Valentina there, and then a first round finish again. Amanda Lemos is such a clean striker, man. She throws her shots straight down the pipe, and clean 1-2s. She switches stance. They have her listed as a southpaw, but then when I was watching a lot of her film, I noticed she really comes out orthodox first. She does switch stances, and maybe she does that to set you up to thinking that that's her power side, and then she comes out and throws with the other hand to cause extra damage. But I like Amanda Lemos here a lot. I like the dog price on her. I do like the fact that she's going to have an opponent that's going to come to her, that's not extremely high-paced as her last fight with Angela Hill. And I think Jéssica's just going to walk right into a shot. You were able to watch Rose really pick Jéssica apart with the jab, and I can see the same thing happening here. My pick is Amanda Lemos, and I think she wins via KO late second round. Moving on down here, we got a lightweight bout between Clay, the Carpenter Guida, and Claudio Puelles. Clay Guida is the engine that could, right? 37-21 as far as professional fights goes. 40 years old, still doing the thing. Won 2 out of his last 5 wins, being against Leonardo Santos, who's definitely seen better days, and Michael Johnson, another guy who's seen better days. Then you see him followed up by Laz's split decision to Mark Manson. Some people thought that could have gone to Clay. Bobby Green, and Jim Miller. On the other side, you have Puelles coming off winning 4 out of his last 5 against Chris Grumacher, Jordan Levitt, Marcos Mariano, and Felipe Silva. Now, we already know that Clay has a gas tank, and we've seen Claudio Puelles in his last fight slow down. So I think it would be very easy to draw the line and say, okay, well, Claudio slows down, Clay picks up the pace as the fight goes on. But Claudio was also facing guys, that were tough, like a Chris Grumacher. And even though he was winning that fight, I would say the whole time through, he gets to finish late in that fight. Jordan Levitt, as you can see, he's bounced back and showed you that he's a worthy competitor and is able to gas out even the likes of a guy like Trey Ogden. And with all these factors coming in, not to mention the 14-year age gap here, 4 inches of height difference, and then 2 inches of reach. I gotta go with Claudio Puelles. I think he's gonna land that body kick. He's gonna keep his shots straight down the pipe. If Clay shoots on him, I think he's gonna wrap up a neck. I think Claudio has him covered everywhere as long as he doesn't be aggressive and he kind of just stays on the outside and pop shots. It seems like a very simple game plan to give to a young fighter, and I'm not a coach. But as long as he stays long and defends the takedowns Clay might bring to him with chokes, and he's able to counter Russell, we've seen that already. And that's it. Just good energy maintenance and manage your faculties, and this should be an easy win for Claudio Puelles. I like Claudio Puelles, and I think he wins by unanimous decision. Moving on down here, we got a flyweight bout between Maycee, the future Barber, versus Montana De La Rosa. Maycee winning 3 out of her last 5. 2 losses coming to Roxanne Modafferi. As you guys know, she had that injury in that fight. And then a loss to Alexa Grouse, who is looking like a top contender in the flyweight division. On the other side here with Montana De La Rosa, she's actually been an underdog that I've tried to back in some of these spots, right? Without success, obviously. Having lost here to Vivian Araujo, which is a top flyweight contender. Lost to Andrea Lee, who's a pretty, I would say, top 15 flyweight for sure. And then she's picked up wins against Mauro Barella and Ariana Lipski, both ATT opponents. This is a draw here, but it should be a loss if Mayra Bueno Silva didn't get the point taken away. So we got a girl in Montana De La Rosa who's going to be looking to just get this fight to the ground. Her striking is very slow, but she does have a long jab. She could stick this fight out from the outside and then implement takedowns when they're offered to her. But I do believe Maycee Barber will control this fight as far as her physicality goes. Just one of those girls with heavy hips. I think she's very difficult to take down. I think Montana will burn a lot of energy trying to get Maycee down. And I do think Maycee has a speed advantage with the hands and a power advantage with the hands. And I do think Maycee's going to muck it up in here and put a hurting on Montana De La Rosa. I do think it's going to be a close fight, but I do think more of the significant damage will be coming from the Maycee Barber side. And I think she wins a unanimous decision. Moving on down, we got short notice replacement here, Chase Sherman going up against Alexandr King Kong Romanov. Now, today we saw Romanov come in 15 pounds lighter, which is incredible, right? A guy that size, and he still looked pretty huge. I was surprised it even said 240 on the scale. But this is great as far as conditioning goes. I don't think this fight's going to go that long for us to test his conditioning. I do see Alexandr Romanov winning this in the first round. 1 takedown, ground and pound. It's over. We saw Chase Sherman get taken down and grounded by Jake Collier. And that's all I'm going to get into. There's really not much to talk about here. A minus 1,800 favorite in Romanov. This is Romanov round 1. And that's the only play you can make here. And Chase Sherman just, signed up to get sacrificed. Moving on down here, we got a fun fight here. A featherweight bout between Charles Air Jourdain and Lando Groovy Vannata. Both very, very, very exciting featherweights, exciting fighters in general. Both have very intricate striking games. I would say Lando probably has a bit better striking defense than Charles Jourdain and would have a bit of a better grappling game than Charles Jourdain. But who's the dog in this fight? This is a tough one. This is a tough one. I could see this fight playing out where Charles could slightly edge Lando in the volume department each round, and then some judges give him, the round based on that. I could also see Lando, as you know, his name is Groovy. He has a bit of a bop to him, a little sway to him, and he's good in his counter shots. So I also could see a scenario where Charles Jourdain is being ultra aggressive and Lando's able to slip and counter hard and drop Charles Jourdain. So this is going to be a matter of who's on their game that day, because I think they're very, very compatible in skill sets. And the line shows, right? It's a pick 'em. I'm sure money's just been bouncing either way as far as this goes. I like Charles Jourdain, and I feel like that might be clouding a bit of my judgment here when it comes to this fight, because Lando Vannata has always been a guy that I've been kind of confused on, but he's made it clear that it's always been a situation of size against him in the lightweight division. And you see with losses against Bobby Green and Mark Diakase, those are good losses. You know what I mean? Those aren't bad losses to have. Win over Yancy Medeiros, who will be fighting this weekend, and then Mike Grundy. But you know what? I'm gonna go with Charles Jourdain. I like a guy that likes to fight. I think he's in here for the long haul. And Lando looked good in his featherweight debut against a guy by Mike Grundy, but Mike Grundy to me is just not looking good. Not a very good win to really tip your cap off and say, "Wow, I got a W against Mike Grundy." He's pretty much flamed out in the UFC as far as I'm concerned. And Charles Jourdain has been in here. Andre Fili, Josh Killabau, who's a lot better than you would imagine. Marcelo Rojo, dog. Julian Rosa, a fight that, he probably could have, made better decisions, but got caught in that Darce choke. And we know Julian Rosa is a very, very dangerous fighter if he doesn't get knocked out. And then he really puts the hurting on Andre Ewell. I like Charles Jourdain here, and I like him to win by unanimous decision. And but it will be close. It'll be close. Moving on down here, we got a catchweight bout. This card has been topsy turvy. Catchweight bout where we got Jordan the Beverly Hills Ninja Wright versus Marc-Andre Powerbar Barriault. So Jordan Wright, to sum him up, he's a one-round fighter. He goes out there and empties the entire clip in that 5 minutes, and he either gets you out or he gets put out. And in a situation like this, he's going up against a guy on short notice, Marc-Andre, who is a bit of a grinder, a guy that if you don't get him out, he is going to wear on you as long as the fight goes. Mark is coming off a match where he did get sparked in 16 seconds, and man, that was only 2 months ago. It's like, is his brain recovered? That was 2 months ago, if you really think about it, right? But I gotta say, the better fighter here is Marc-Andre. It's just, where is his chin at? I like Marc-Andre as a pick, but I do feel like if you are worried about that pick, that you should hedge out and take Jordan Wright by first round KO. And I'm gonna be making a play on Marc-Andre Barriault, but I will have a side wager on Jordan Wright to win via first round KO, just in case that chin is compromised by Marc-Andre Barriault. If its chin is not compromised, this should be one-way traffic for the power bar here. And I do see him just implementing his grueling cage work, absolute pressure, takedowns, overhand rights, just being the tougher, more complete fighter in there. I like Marc-Andre Barriault to win by stoppage in the second round, but we got to see how that chin holds up. It wasn't just 2 months ago he got sparked unconscious in 16 seconds by Chitty. Moving on down, we got a welterweight bout between Dwight Grant and Sergey Khandozhko. And Sergey hasn't fought in over 2 years, and Dwight Grant is probably one of the most awkward, difficult fighters to read. He's got very long reach, power in his hands, but he keeps these fights extremely close. He's very inactive. And then we got a guy in Sergey who's just, to me doesn't look that spectacular. And I like I told you guys last week, when you get the opportunity to bet a Russian and it's at even money, you gotta raise your eyes at these type of things because these Russian lines, if they're about to win, these lines get completely blown out of proportion very early. And Sergey has managed to stay in this range where he seems affordable. The 27-6 record, the 29 years of age, he's 8 years younger. Um, I'm gonna go with Sergey. Despite what I said last week, and I'm only gonna do that just based on the fact that Dwight Grant to me is just not that consistent of a fighter. And I'm going to just trust that Sergey has made reasonable gains over the past few years and he'll be able to outpoint Dwight Grant here. He's got to watch out for those heavy bombs though from Dwight, because if he lands, he can have you on Queer Street. And we've seen him do this crazy stuff like that. That loss here to D-Rod, I mean, he almost had D-Rod out of there. And if this fight doesn't get stopped, Grant's here winning 4 out of his last 5, right? But the the ref didn't want to stop the fight, and Daniel Rodriguez was able to turn the tides around and finish Grant. But you look at these fights here, right? I mean, split decision to Alan Jouban, split decision to Stefan Sekulic, split decision to Francesco Trinaldo. He's not very consistent, so he's a tough guy to bet on. So I'm gonna go with Sergey here, and I'm gonna take him to win by unanimous decision. Moving on down, we got the return of Tyson Pedro versus Ike Villanueva, and this is at light heavyweight. Tyson Pedro has been gone for what? 3 years. We don't know what type of fighter he is at this point. He could be a better fighter. He could be a worse fighter. But most likely, he's a much better fighter than what we left him at. And this is a layup of a fight. Ike Villanueva has just been struggling in the UFC. 18-13, 38 years of age. This isn't his full-time job. And he's going up against a young star here that the UFC wanted to push early, but, he stumbled with losses to Ovin St. Peru and losses to Mauricio Shogun. But, Ike Villanueva would lose to those guys as well. I'm going to go with Tyson Pedro to come back after all these years and have great improvements and get the finish over Ike Villanueva. He's minus 650. That's unplayable for me, but I am going to take him to win this bout. Moving on down, we got a bantamweight fight between Aori Qileng versus Cameron Else, the Mongolian murderer. Aori Qileng, he is a tough he's a tough dog. Let me tell you something. I bet against him twice in his last 2 fights, and I was victorious. But let me tell you, he had me stressing in both those fights. He's a dog, and that was at flyweight. Seeing him today on the scale, he looked full. He was thick. I was very impressed to see just the size of him, right? You could tell he was very, very drained making the flyweight cut. And even after making the flyweight cut, him being able to take some of the damage he took, it's incredible. But he'll be stepping up here at bantamweight, upper weight class, against a guy in Cameron Else who's a killer, be killed fighter. And this is all the makings for a fun fight. Now they got Aori as a minus 250 favorite here. I don't know if I agree with that level of favorite, but I do believe he's the tougher guy in the fight. Better gas tank, better striking, and physically strong. And I do believe that he'll outlast Cameron Else, who's shown to really slow down after the first round all the time. So I'm going to go with the Mongolian murderer, Aori Qileng, and I'm going to take him to win by second round stoppage. Moving on down here, now we're in the territory where this UFC card gets spooky. We got a fighter in Preston Parsons who versus Evan Elder. Now, I'm going to be completely honest. Evan Elder, this is a very short notice fight as far as my information goes. I don't know who Evan Elder is. Not only that, Preston Parsons only had one shot in the UFC, and it was a short notice fight, so I mean against D-Rod, so I don't know how much you could really take from that. It was it was at 170. Looks like he's still fighting at 170 here. So, this is a fight that, I wouldn't really want to bet. But look, 26-year-old, 25-year-old, 5'9", 5'11". They're virtually identical as far as the measurements goes. Both fighting out of Florida. One of these fighters is undefeated, and fighting and training out of Sanford MMA. So, I mean, at this point, I guess you go with the dog here. I guess you go with Evan Elder, and you pick him to win via unanimous decision. I'll go with the undefeated fighter here, but not too much tape study has been done on this fight, being completely honest. And I'll go with the undefeated newcomer in Evan Elder. Moving on down, we got Marcin Prachnio versus Philipe Lins. Now, this is a very interesting fight. Marcin Prachnio is someone I've just, risked a little bit of shekels on in his past two fights, and he's come through for me. Very, very awkward fighter, very interesting karate style, and he was able to get Ike Villanueva out of there. But most of these other guys, I don't think he's going to be getting finishes in the UFC. And then we have a guy in Philipe Lins that was fighting up at heavyweight, losses to Andre Arlovsky, and then he got dropped by Tanner Boser, who's got some power in his hands. Now we got Philipe Lins back at his rifle weight class here at light heavyweight 205. And man, I saw him on the scales today. He looked huge. He looked physical, jacked, the best shape he's looked, period. I mean, he looked okay at heavyweight, but you could definitely see that, no, this is the weight class he should be fighting at. And with that being said, he already had extreme power in his hands and good quick boxing. I think he's going to land a 1-2 and get Prachnio out of here early. I think first round knockout for Philipe Lins. He is 36 years old, but he doesn't look it as far as I'm concerned. He doesn't look old, especially on the tape. And I'm going to go ahead with a 4-inch reach advantage. I'm going to go ahead and take Philipe Lins by KO in the first round. And at plus 105, he's someone I'll be looking to add to my slips a little later. Moving on down, we got another wonky fight here. Dean Barry versus Mike Jackson. We already know Mike Jackson's the guy who fought CM Punk and got submitted by Mickey Gall, and he's a part-time journalist, part-time fighter. Then we got a guy, Dean Barry, who doesn't look that good to me at all, but he's coming in here as a minus 1,200 favorite, 8 years younger. This is a no bet, man. This is an absolute no bet, and it's absolute I don't care. I mean, whoever loses is getting cut, and whoever wins might get cut too. I mean, I don't see why the UFC would keep either of these guys in here unless Dean Barry is going to go out there and completely starch Mike Jackson in like 30 seconds. I'm going to go with Dean Barry. He is the minus 1,200 favorite in this spot, and Mike Jackson isn't a full-time fighter as far as I'm concerned. So Dean Barry, and I think he'll win by unanimous decision. And there we have it. 12 fights on this card. Definitely not the best UFC card we have. A lot of good Bellator content this weekend. Just for fun, I like Kai Kamaka. I like Danny Sabatello for the Bellator cards. Obviously, Alima McFarlane. And I'm also thinking about taking a shot on the boy Yancy Medeiros. Hometown, former UFC fighter, and a decent boxer. He definitely could put the hands on his opponent. But once again, I want to thank you guys for watching Southpaw Picks. Definitely got the most exciting card this weekend. But thank you for showing up week to week to week. And we'll turn a profit like we always do. And I'll show the parlay slips right at the end of the video here so you guys can follow along. And let's continue to get this money. Thank you for watching Southpaw Picks. Catch you later.